So if you guys stick around and learn how to make these for your church. They're movable walls for dividing sections of your church or for holding up signs for different areas like donuts. Kids. They're actually pretty simple with 3 main steps: base, the bottom box, wall, and then shelf.
Dad, so could you tell me what you pick up?
I started with the main vertical sideboards, which are 2x6s. You'll need them exactly 6 foot, 4 3/4 inches tall. This is so that 18 slats with 1-inch gaps will fit perfectly. With those cut, the first thing you're going to build is the bottom box that the wall is going to rise from. The blocking used inside the box will use ripped 2x6s. First cut 3 boards, 1 foot, 4.5 inches long each. Now you'll need the saw table to rip those 3 boards to 3 3/4 inches wide. You're doing this so that the top box boards are slightly inset, providing a 1/4 inch reveal that is continuous up the wall. You'll see that at the end. With more 2x6s, you're going to make the face boards and the top boards of the box. So you'll need 5 of them, 3 for the top, 1 for each long side. All of them are 4 feet long. You're cutting 8 foot 2x6s exactly in half. Lay out your 3 inside blocks and put 3 of the 4 foot boards over the top of them. And then 1 on the front, 1 on the back. That's all 5 if you can't count. Our 6-footer will go right in the middle, right there. Before you put it all together with wood screws, you'll cut 4 more short 2x6s at about 7 inches long. You might want to measure this part to get them exactly right. They are going on the sides of the vertical boards. Fasten the top boards, then the long sides. I grabbed a scrap 2x6 to serve as the tall vertical board, while I fastened the short 7-inch boards to each side of it. The other side had to be clamped before fastening to keep everything tight. I centered the middle block and fastened that too. This one is optional, but I added it for strength. No doubt kids will eventually try to use this rolling wall as a skateboard. See how the top boards are now inset? I like this too because if the boards eventually warp or pop up a little, the taller walls will hide that. Can you hold this up for me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just hold it up for a second. Finally, attach the 6 foot, 4 3/4 inch vertical boards. Now you'll need 3 2x4s as studs for inside the wall. I measured their length by holding it up to the vertical 2x6 and marking it. These need to be flush at the top with those. Make sure they're perfectly centered on the 2x6 before attaching it. You want the continuous 1/4 inch reveal up the wall on both sides. I used a small combination square to do that. Put 1 screw in the bottom, then get the top perfect and put a screw there. Only then do the middle screws. Find the center of the top of your box for the inside center stud. This one doesn't need to be attached until you've attached a few slats to the front. Again, to get a perfect length slat, I held it to the wall and marked it. And I used the same slat to keep the gaps consistent, placing it on top of an attached slat and then fastening the next one above it. This was easy and worked really well. After doing a few on the bottom, you'll also want to use the exact same size for the top and temporarily attach it in case it needs to be adjusted. This will help keep your walls parallel. I didn't do it, but I also recommend temporarily attaching one in the center so that the long verticals don't bow as you work your way up. As I finished the front side, I was surprised that the top one didn't need any adjustment. The gap was perfect.
Look at that. Perfect. Look at that. What?
Moving on to the back of the wall, I guess it's up to you if you also want to slat this entire side. I did, even though it's the front that we would primarily be using. You obviously want to do it if you're using these for more than just sign holders, like for dividing areas. I wasn't so lucky on the top slat for the back. It was too tall and had to be ripped. But for my other walls, I didn't bother ripping them. Instead, just allowed a smaller gap, which was unnoticeable. Now you see the subtle yet elegant continuous 1/4 inch reveal. Nobody will notice these small touches, but somehow go a long way, making a piece look more complete and thought out. They don't know why it looks great, but you do. I was testing the weight of it. I was slightly worried it could easily fall over, but they definitely can't. The base is wide enough and heavy enough. For the shelf, I used pre-cut 1/2 inch by 2 foot by 4 foot birch plywood. I cut it exactly in half to get 2 shelves that were 1 foot deep. And here's the hardware I used for my shelves. Black anchors, hinges, carabiners, and wire I had. I spread the 4 hinges out across the back edge of the shelf. They ended up being 16-inch on center. I pulled in the ones on the end about 1 inch. For this thin plywood, you'll want to use 4 to make sure the back of the shelf stays straight. For this first shelf, I attached the hinges flush to the back edge, but I recommend hanging them off like I did for my other shelves. This is so the shelves can hinge backwards a bit, allowing you to attach it to the carabiner. Before the shelf gets mounted, attach the black anchors. Make sure they're perfectly straight and off the edge by at least 1 inch. They don't come with screws. I had to use these long ones I had on hand, which I had to cut down after the shelf was installed. Also, pre-drilling this birch is a good idea. I used my forehead to mount the shelf. I recommend getting help. This was not super easy. Use the slat on the back to make sure you attach it totally straight. Next, I attached the other black anchors to the wall, which will be used to hold up the shelf.
How am I gonna?
The front of the shelf looked incomplete, and it also had some bend in it. I glued and attached a front trim piece to solve both of those problems. These stickers are so annoying. Good thing the stain completely hides it all later.
It's still there.
Trust me, it's better to attach the wheels last. It's really annoying working with the wall as it tries to roll around or wobble.
I got the brakes on. Nice. I don't know exactly how we're gonna get to the church.
The next 2 walls went much faster because I had everything figured out. I rolled them outside to get ready for staining. I taped all of the hardware the best I could and wrapped tin foil around the wheels. One thing I wish I had done was use pre-stained conditioner. I decided not to on these because I was trying to match some finished wood in our church. I asked the guy how he did it. He did not use conditioner and had this stain left over. Never forget to combine leftover stain with a newer bucket and always mix. You should be mixing multiple times throughout the project. Spraying these was such a pleasure. I would not have enjoyed hand applying all of these. I let the stain sit for maybe 10 minutes before wiping it all off. Then 2 hours later, I put on the next coat. I ended up doing 3 coats, then a light 4th coat just on the front slats. I was also very unhappy about seeing the white wood through the slat gaps, so only on the front I pulled off a few slats and stained the inside. Thanks for watching. I really hope this helps someone.